I'm Daniel Posney, and this is Shifting Perspectives. And this is it's about how to emotion or how to have emotions. And I know this title is it's kind of odd because a lot of people know how to have emotions. That's not the problem. But there are people out there that have been due to trauma and childhood training, they don't know how to connect with their emotions like a lot of people do. And it's frustrating because they feel disconnected, they feel unloved, unworthy, and they're trying to make sense of things because that's what they have is their logic. But this idea that to have emotions is kind of a um, it's a new thing. It's kind of an out there kind of thing that you don't really can't really connect with. And it's kind of like the like taken to one extreme. If you look at Data or Spock on Star Trek, they're very capable, intelligent people. It's just that the emotional piece doesn't really make sense to them. That they don't really need it to navigate the world, and yet there's this knowing, this wonder. What am I missing, and how come I can't communicate with this person, and what does she want from me? And it all makes sense that I gave her what she needed and I fixed the problem. But there's so much more depth to life that these people don't really realize. And so I get really excited when I meet someone like this. And like for instance, I was working with a woman who she had some really deep childhood trauma, alcoholism and abuse and all these things. And she had two siblings, and one sibling, because of the trauma, went into drugs and alcohol, and the other the other sibling went into bipolar kind of thing. Like, 1 minute they're happy as a clam, and next minute they're off the deep end. And this woman had no emotions, and it was really apparent how each child dealt with the childhood trauma in the way that fit them. And for myself, you know, I know that we all start off as being very innocent and playful and curious and just this beaming love. Every baby starts out this way. So when I meet someone that has had their emotions constricted or shut down, it's because of some sort of trauma. They were this free child with just wants to explore everything and crying, and they were trained out of it, either trained out of it or traumatized out of it, or a combination of the two. And for me, I was a very sensitive kid, very loving and playful. And then, crap happened, and trauma connected with my mind, and my mind said, we need to become hardened. And so I started to harden myself. And at the same time, I was this, nice guy, but hardened also. It was kind of weird. Um, but I was kind of, like I've said in the past, I was wearing a mask, and I wasn't completely connected in with my emotions in the deepest way. And because I always felt like they needed to kind of protect myself. And for some people, they don't even know that they're protecting themselves, that they when they don't have the emotional connection. And it's just kind of, nope, that was too unsafe, and I'm shutting that down right now. That's kind of it seems like what happens is that program, that switch gets just shut down because it's don't need it, not safe right now, and so we'll just leave it shut off until it makes sense to turn it back on. And they get so used to it being off, the emotional connection, that just dealt without it, and they're seen as intelligent and knowledgeable and capable by other people, but not really someone you can really connect in with on a heart basis. And they can kind of feel like something's, not quite, what's going on here. I'm in this world that all these people are acting this way, and I don't know how to act. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's going to be a real short thing, but I just want to kind of give some insight to if you meet someone like this, or if you're one of these people that needs some help in this area. One thing that I found that, well, first of all, the cause is trauma. Trauma causes the person to switch and start to be trained in this other way. The symptoms are feeling disconnected, not understood, alone, unloved, not worthy, and not being able to navigate in an emotion-driven world. So I use my emotions to navigate myself in the world. Like when I feel really excited about something, when there's excitement in me, my heart is kind of pounding, I'm racing a little bit, and maybe I'm starting to get, my eyes are starting to water up. I'm getting really emotional about this thing that's happening. That's my signal that my body consciousness is saying yes. And when I don't have the emotions, I don't have the excitement within me, it's probably a no. So I've gotten really used to it. It wasn't that way in the past. I was kind of making decisions just to please people. So it was all very much in my head. How could I get more appreciation or acknowledgement from this decision, from whatever decision I'm thinking about? But nowadays, it's more in alignment with more higher truth. So when I use my body to feel, like I think about jumping down through a pit of mud and disgust and waste, I don't really feel an excitement. I start feeling like, that's kind of gross. So that's my feeling state. I'm starting to feel, and I start to imagine that pit, and I start going, nope. So I just imagine that in my mind, and I just see how my body responds to that. And if my body starts to tighten up, and my arms start to tense up, my hands start to tense up, that's what my body does. And then comes the feeling of what that might feel like being in that pit, and then things start to shrink, and I start, my inside starts saying no, nope, nobody, nope, nope. But when I think about, let's say that I'm in one of those glass rooms that all the money is falling all around, and you're supposed to catch all that money, I imagine myself in one of those rooms, and every bill is $1 million bill. And I start to smile, and I start to get excited, and what's happening is I'm thinking, wow, all the good things I can do with that money. And all the excitement starts to build up, and you get this thing that some Asian modalities calls the inner happiness, or the inner smile. That's what starts to happen, is that inside of me starts to feel like my breath starts to get bigger, my chest starts to come out bigger. So it's this expansive kind of thing. So when the emotion is negative, I start contracting. And when the emotion is feeling good, I start expanding. So you can kind of like, you can practice this, and you can say, okay, here's this decision A or decision B, and decision A and B are totally opposites. And you can think about decision A and kind of play that out in your mind and imagine it, and see what your body does. If it takes deeper breaths, and your shoulders kind of relax, and you breathe really easy, that's probably a yes. If you start to shrink, and you start to kind of clench up your hands and that kind of thing, and your mind starts to go into all the problems that get created, that's probably a no. So that's how I use my body to kind of help me decide what choices to make and what decisions to make. So the other problem that happens is when someone's not connected with their emotions and their feeling, is they're not really getting the highest truth, or the clearest answer. Because if they don't have their emotions, their feeling state, they're relying solely on their mind, which is a very can be a very anxious place to be. So that your mind is not really one to be trusted all the time, because it's filling in the gaps with what it thinks that you should know, kind of thing. So even that kind of thing, I start, kind of careful about relying on my mind to make decisions for me. My mind is a great tool for analyzing and categorizing and judging and labeling things, that kind of thing. Um, but any more than that, it's kind of faking it, kind of thing. Like if I say, mind, tell me what this thing is, and it says, well, it's a tree and it's an elm tree. Well, that's my mind saying what it knows from its memory banks, but it doesn't really tell me any depths of the tree. And that's where I get my emotions from. That's what helps me is my emotions and my feelings. And I feel a tree. I feel what it might be like to be a tree, to stand there in the rain and the snow and the sun. And, that's where the emotion, it just takes that knowledge of something and opens it up to all this imagination and feeling and wonder and all that kind of thing. So if we're not able to use our feelings and our emotions to navigate this world, it's kind of like using a screwdriver for every single maintenance problem. And you're using the screwdriver as a hammer, you're using the screwdriver as a wrench and everything. So the mind just is not really qualified to navigate that way. So if this is new to you, just this is all about practice. This is all about kind of, is this something that you haven't been taught or it's been kind of traumatized out of you? But this is something that it's going to be kind of like you're stepping a foot out there and then you put your foot in the water a little bit, see how that feels, and it just kind of generates and generates. And the thing to kind of keep in mind as you're practicing this is you're not going to lose yourself. You're not going to go crazy. You're not going to be a wacko because you have strong emotions. You may have some moments of strong emotions and you'll burst out with something and it'll be a great release, but you're not going to lose yourself. It's just going to be a burst of emotion that's all been kind of trapped up inside of you. And it could be a terrible emotion like anger or rage, but you'll recover. And so with my story, I thought that I needed to only experience good emotions, being a peaceful, loving, gentle, giving person, and then I would get more love from that. And to have anger or rage or anything like that, oh no, people would, run away from me. So I kept away from those emotions, and I just kept on pushing it down. After a while, though, something triggered in me that allowed those emotions to come out. And luckily, I was in the right kind of space to allow them to come out. What I do with some people is I take them out into, way out there into the mountains, and I have them just yell, and it's so cathartic to just let your voice out there and kind of just be kind of weird for a moment, and it just feels really good, and you kind of realize that, wow, I can have that outburst and it doesn't make me anything. It doesn't destroy me. It doesn't make me a wacko. It's just, kind of having fun with this and just allowing this emotion to come out. So there's a really good kids movie called Inside Out that kind of talks about kind of portraying the story of this girl, and she wants to only be happy, but she goes through her life and things happen, and she realizes that there were a really good time for sadness, because when she remembers the sadness, her heart opens up and she gets happy with that. And then there was a time when anger really motivated her to do something, and that made her happy because she got that thing done. So they're all tied together. They're all these amazing emotions, and the practice is just to find out, putting a name to this emotion. Is this sadness? Maybe not. Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's depression. Is this anger, or is it stronger than anger? Maybe it's rage because I'm really feeling it, kind of thing. So it could be joy, it could be bliss, it could be ecstasy, and then oneness, or just amazing, beautiful emotions and feelings. So it's just kind of a fun thing to kind of sit with yourself. And you could do this right now if you want to. Just sit with yourself, take a deep breath. That's it. The breathing is like the core fix to everything. So breathing, I let my shoulders drop down, let everything relax. Maybe move my body around a little bit. Now I put into my mind some kind of memory. Okay, what just came to me is when I was a kid, we had these two Cairn Terriers, and they're like Toto dogs, like from Wizard of Oz. And we also had this big, clumpy, goofy golden retriever, and they were one was named Toto Kufaru, and the other one was called Mabili, and the other one was called Kimba. And I'm thinking about them and how that big golden retriever used to accidentally stomp on those little dogs as they were, under its feet. And the dog was just so clumsy and goofy. So it just makes me laugh. It just made me laugh with that, the goofiness of the scene. And it just brings back a memory of my life being easier, no responsibilities, just to feed the dogs and then clean up their poop and all the stuff that happens when you're around 11, 12 years old. So that's a good practice, is just kind of close your eyes and just think of a memory. And if you can't get to a feeling of that memory, that you're just kind of memorizing it and you're acknowledging it, kind of thing, but you can't get to a feeling, imagine what feeling you might have if you had a feeling. So that seems to be a good practice, is conjure up some kind of memory that might be, it's not just that you drove to this place or this thing happened. Think about like when you accomplished something or you lost something. That's a good one. When you lose something, think about how that, what the feeling might have been had you been able to get into a feeling. And just imagining that, what that might be, kind of opens up that gate to start to allow those feelings in, because at some point somebody or some event caused you to feel that it wasn't safe to have emotions. So now, like I said before, you're just kind of stepping out and putting your toe in the water, and you experience a little bit, and then pull yourself back to some place that feels safe for you, and then try a little bit more, and maybe write down or record what kind of feeling you're having. Journaling is a really good tool to kind of write down how you might be feeling in this moment. So it's just kind of a practice. And what happens is you start getting, it starts to become normal, that having feelings are a pretty normal thing to have, and you're not going to explode with emotions, and you're still going to be safe. Um, in fact, having emotions and feelings actually makes me feel safer, because I can feel my surroundings. I can feel this connection that I'm having with this person, if it's safe or unsafe. And my logical mind doesn't really know that. It doesn't really have the ability to know if this connection I'm having right now is safe or unsafe. But my feeling in me, as I develop that, I can start to go, oh, this feels really good. Wow, this person is really in their heart. And that's what you start getting more tuned into. Let's see, practice putting words to how you feel when you wake up and when you go to sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Well, if you feel just tired, then just acknowledge that you feel tired. And what does that feel like? So feeling tired feels like kind of low energy, and not really wanting to talk to people, maybe. Um, but maybe you might practice when you wake up that you feel tired, but really anticipating the day, because there's something happening today. So there's anticipation coming out. So you go, okay, it's not just I know my schedule, it's I'm feeling a little bit of anticipation happening. And then when you go to sleep, what my wife and I do is we talk about our highlights of the day. And what you can do is you can kind of record, write down, or share with your partner the highlights of your day. And after a little while, you kind of connect, and you start asking each other's questions. Okay, you had that happen, but how did that make you feel? And it might be, I don't know how it made me feel. But after a little while, a word or two might come out. you know really, I think maybe, yeah, I think maybe I felt sad, or that kind of pissed me off a little bit. Then someone might ask, well, why do you think it pissed you off? Because they didn't respect me. And then as you start to go down that, and you start to, it's like these questions start to be asked. Why did it disrespect you? Why did you have that feeling? I don't know. My dad used to do that. See, now we're getting somewhere. Now you start following down that rabbit hole and you start to open up that channel to start to feel and start to acknowledge. And it's a really beautiful feeling to kind of come back to yourself and not allow that person or that event or that situation control you any longer, because that person or event or situation changed you and they did not have your permission, and they made you believe that this is how you needed to be. So as you start to kind of discover these memories and these feelings, you're starting to come back to yourself, to who you really are. And it might be a completely new thing, but it's very empowering to find out that there's more to me, there's more to you than what someone put you in a cage or traumatized you into. And it's like the more that you feel, the more that you connect with your emotions, the more I don't want to say this, the solution or I'm not getting the word. I want to stay away from this word. It's not revenge, but let's just say revenge, because it's like you get to come back to yourself. You get to um, get something out of that. Sorry, I'm struggling with the word here, but it's just that they no longer have control of you, and you get to be empowered by that. So that's the kind of thing that I want to kind of plant in your mind. The more that you connect with your emotions, the more that you get back to yourself. You get back to your emotions. You're an emotional being, damn it. And someone took that away. And this is not something that you're gonna um, that you have to do. It's something that you kind of want to do because you, not only because you want to connect with other people, but it brings you back to who you are. You were always an emotional being that had feelings, and through some situations that got disconnected. So it's you finding yourself again. Um, Remember times in the past and practice pinpointing your feelings at that time. Realize that it's normal to have feelings and emotions. And this is just how we communicate and how we navigate our life. So, again, if you want to navigate your life better and you're kind of frustrated with, that you made some decisions that weren't great, or you kind of didn't know how to communicate with this person, it's feelings and emotions that help you navigate this in a more clear way. And again, don't worry, you're not going to be all this crazy emotional person, because who you are is one that wants to understand these things, acknowledge them, and with discernment, see what emotion is there. And after a while, you start to become more in tune with that, and you can better express yourself, and life just becomes more full. So that's all I have for now. Thank you so much. I love you. Bless you. And see you next time.